That's your answer. Did you get that one?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Can I draw your attention to page 3 within the agenda, which sets out the details regarding the fire safety instructions and the webcasting arrangements. In the event of a fire alarm sounding, please leave the building via the nearest exit and make your way to the assembly point located in the market car park adjacent to the Civic Suite building. Please do not return to the building unless given permission by staff, council staff. And if you can ensure your mobile phones are on mute, I'll be most grateful. Thank you.
That one. Good evening, members. Apologies for absence. We have Councillor Lambourne. Do we have any? Did you send a substitute? No. The minutes of the meeting that was held on the 3rd of July. Are the minutes agreed? Thank you. Received declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest? Are there any declarations of interest? No. There are no public questions on notice. The Chair's report begins on page 13, provides an update to members in relation to areas covered under the terms of reference of the Environment and Climate Change Committee. This report is for noting. Any questions? No? Noted. Councillor FD.
Just making sure I'm looking at the right bit. Was the report summary, Climate Change Committee, Chair's report, yeah. Okay, it says the Cherry Orchard Country Park Management Plan. Who's on the working group? Because it met in April, which is before the administration changed. So I'm just interested who's on the working group and when that will be redone.
I could probably try to almost recollect off the top of my head who they are, but I can circulate that round. I mean, certainly, I take your point. So I'm reading on what it says there. We're happy to circulate the management plan for comments from the whole committee. Would that be more appropriate, I think, rather than working groups? So there has been some changes, hasn't there? So I think we can look at who's in the working group and perhaps circulate to the working group and the committee, if that's what you're asking for, a bit more ability to comment on this.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Councillor Cross.
Thank you, Chairman. Just an observation, really, on the report, page 15. Solar together. Oh, crikey! Solar together. Yeah, just a bit disappointed with this, really. I presume that those numbers, 42 registrations, are Essex-wide, and only 2 paid up to date. I did get a quote, actually, from Solar Together for my solar installation, and I didn't go with them because they wouldn't put the battery in the loft where I wanted it. But anyway, that's irrelevant. Just really, it's a disappointing, set of numbers from Solar Together. Wondered if we were going to carry on with a similar scheme next year, or what we can do to improve the uptake of that in order to achieve our net zero targets. Shame that Henry's not here to answer that, but maybe an enhanced scheme is coming forward.
Thank you, Councillor. We can only offer the scheme. We can't make people sign up to it. And I think Henry will be here later to bring his reports. But say the scheme is out there. It's like lots of schemes that we're offering, like the boiler servicing, etc. But we can't make people sign up to it. So it's only there if people want to get involved in it. So that's about it, really.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It perhaps needs to be looked at to be made more attractive, and then more people will sign up to it. The quote that I had wasn't anything exceptional. It was easily matched by somebody I know, and they were able to put the battery in the loft where I wanted it. So, maybe it's not as good a scheme as they make it out to be.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Stanley.
Thank you, Chair. With the Cherry Orchard management plan that you're going to circulate, could you emphasise what the difference is that from the last plan that we actually put together? So that would be, if it's any different, if you've made any differences made in there. Yep. Thank you.
Councillor Gooding.
I'm sorry if this has already been spoken about before, but the Clements Hall Skate Park, can you just give me a date that you're expecting this to be completed, please?
Thank you, Councillor. So I do have a evaluation meeting with the contractor next week, so we'll have a better idea of the date, a confirmed date then. But we are looking at within the next 3 to 4 weeks.
On the skate park, it's something I went over the other week and was talking to the contractors, and I think it's going to be a very good skate park. It's got the best of everything that are in the other 2 skate parks, so I think it's going to be really good, but trust me, I'm not trying it out. Okay, item 6. The report begins on page 17 and updates members on how Rochford North have performed and compares their quarter 4 24 to 25 with their quarter 1 25-26. Any questions from committee members? Councillor Stanley.
Thank you, Chair. With the obviously the performance of the cleansing machine and other equipment, is that now, are we now using the green energy fuel, or are we still on the diesel amount? Thank you.
So a report is going to come into the next committee seeking approval of that expenditure on HVO. So the budget is there, but I think we just want to ensure that we went through a transparent process where the committee had the ability to decide whether we should or shouldn't do so. But yes, we still anticipate to do so, providing the committee agrees.
Councillor Cross.
Thank you, Chairman. Just an observation again on the RAG tracking. I noticed some of the arrows are facing the wrong way. I wondered if that was just a legacy from the previous report and they weren't changed, but you know, many numbers are down and the arrows pointing up and vice versa. So as RAG reports go, it's not terribly accurate. Minor thing, you know, the important thing is that we are going in the right direction, but maybe somebody could look at the arrows. Do you want some examples?
Page 21 example, HS3, on working days it was 130 last year, 323 this year, and it's going up. It says it's got better, but it's actually got worse, I think, unless I'm being dopey. That was going to be my question as well, so it needs to come to me.
So sorry, it could be how it's interpreted. So actually, that's a good thing. So it's the number of working days since the last accident. So it's been 323 days since. Sorry. Yes. So I think number of own fault vehicle accidents, although it's increased, you'd expect that to be a red arrow decreasing because it's a decreasing performance.
All right. I just looked at the loss to injury.
Probably the key to explain that, really, couldn't we, in hindsight? So we'll put an exclamation key in below. Sorry, yes, yeah, I understand how you could view that otherwise. But yeah, so while on the subject, I think that probably is the one area of concern is the number of accidents. Although it's not exceptionally high for a quarter, that still is of concern. I think if we had another quarter similar, then we'd have you know. It's a bit like the buses; they do sometimes just cluster up, and you may find that the next quarter we have no accidents at all. But certainly it's not something we're taking for granted, and it has been discussed with the contracts manager.
If I may just come back, Chairman. the figure of average number of days taken to clear fly tips is 0.55, and this last quarter's 0.6. So it's the 0.55 figure. I don't understand that. Is it 55? Is it 5.5? Whatever it is, it's down.
I mean, obviously, these reports are quite a new thing for us to try and do. So it's 0.55 of a day. So on average, we're actually clearing within less than a day, and we're still clearing within less than a day. So that's a decrease. I think we'd all say it's quite a reasonable tolerance still. But at this stage, all we're doing is just bringing the data back in, and it may be something we want to consider actually is around targets at a later date. Perhaps at the end of this year, we'll be presenting in the next business plan for North to say, and these are the targets that we should be achieving against the performance indicators. But I think at this stage, we just want to bring in the data for you to be able to sort of, if you like, get used to having in front of you and say, look, what is a reasonable target to achieve? Because you could probably argue that 0.6 of a day or 0.5 of a day is pretty reasonable either way. But, yeah. So it's going to be data. Yes. I said, well, 0.55 is probably just over half a day, but not 0. I appreciate it. Okay. I think I understand what you're saying. Thank you.
Councillor FD.
Thank you, Chairman. Page 22, right at the bottom on the RAG report, says agency days. What does that actually mean? Because to my thinking, that's agency days we've had to employ agency staff. And that seems quite a lot. Have we not got enough staff? We're having to employ so many?
Over a quarter, so if you take how many days are in as a quarter, it's still probably a couple of agency staff over that period. So there are agency staff that use at times, and that's not unusual in this industry. And so what you'll find quite often is that when you have permanent staff leave, you will recruit agency staff initially, and then you'll take them on permanently if they're proved to be.
So that's just the way the recruiting works. You take off agency and they become full-time. Yeah. That's why it's such a large number.
Yes, so if your permanent numbers drop, you tend to see your agency increasing.
Okay, and then it'll drop off again once they become permanent. Okay.
Councillor Squires-Coleman.
Thank you, Chair. My question was answered. It was just a query regarding the number of absent days, but still using more agency. I think the question was answered whether it included people leaving as well. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, but I think you'll notice on it the number of sickness days has actually decreased, which considering the industry and the work involved, that's quite good. No, the sickness days has decreased. Yeah. I think we'll have to look at a new system for you later on. Councillor Stanley.
Thank you, Chair. Just one question I'd like to ask is, and I know this report has been done weeks or if not a month before, but now that we are in the process of picking up vegetable waste, could you tell me how the commercial waste is being dealt? Is that still underway, or is it abeyant, or what are we doing with that? Thank you.
So there is still an intention to bring in or consider commercial waste. It is on hold at the present, just while we're rolling out the food waste. I think that's something we've got to give our concentration to, but I'd anticipate by at least Christmas time that we'll be bringing some, I'm hoping by December we bring something back in for the committee to consider on commercial waste proposals.
At the same time then, if that's going to be not until Christmas or whenever, is the fourth vehicle going to be used as waste as the other three are, or is that going to stand still until then? Thank you.
So with the food waste service rollout, it's always slightly nervous about capacity issues, so we want to ensure there's at least a spare available. You do need a spare for maintenance issues, so most of those vehicles are on a 6 weeks maintenance issue, so you've got them off the road. Between them, there's 3 days in every 3 weeks where you need another vehicle anyway, and that's without breakdowns. So you do need a spare just to make sure that runs correctly. But I anticipate that we may well need all 4 for the first few weeks, because you tend to get a up spike in interest in the food waste service when you first offer it, which then settles back down.
So with that, if with that in mind, if there is a large pickup of this waste, then does that full vehicle get involved? Is that full vehicle going to get involved in the pickup? Thank you.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
Councillor Gooding.
Following on from Councillor Stanley's question around the new bin system, I'm being asked by residents, how long will the green waste vegetation, not the food waste, the green garden waste, how long will that continue being collected if there's any change?
I gave out at the last committee meeting when this was discussed that we have no intention of doing away with or charging for green waste under this administration. What future administrations do, I can't speak for them. So, Councillor Williams, did you have a question?
Is that going to continue in the same vein as weekly, or would that be likely to? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Just as a matter of interest, misbin is 0.16%. What does that equate to in real money, roughly? Just out of interest.
I'm going to have to try and times up the zeros now. So if that's 0.16%, we take the zeros out, that gives you, that's 500. Oh, does it? It's 500.
Does it?
But it's 540 bins, but that's over about 35,000.
Yeah, so that's
That's over
0.16%.
Yeah, there we go. Thank you.
That's over how long a period?
So that's for that quarter.
It's not bad, is it? Out of all those bins.
It's about industry standard, so they're doing it as well as should be expected.
Thank you.
Thank you. The one thing I've been asked by residents is, obviously we're bringing out the food waste bin. Where do you put the fruit that's fallen off a tree? Does it go in your green bin or does it go in the kitchen waste? Because obviously it's still edible. If you could answer that for me, I'll be most grateful.
The way that it was discussed at the last meeting, if it can go on a compost heap, it can go in the green bin. So food waste that is cooked food or bones or uncooked meat, stuff like that, anything you wouldn't put on a compost heap, you put in the little bin, and the rest of it can go in the compost bin. So, but if you fill the little bin up, you can use just the green bin for obviously compost stuff. So it puts less in the little bin. So, but it will be trial and error how we get on with it all. Some of the leaflets have been describing about peelings and stuff, but on my understanding that if it can go on a compost heap, it can go in the green bin. Is that correct? No.
I mean, just conscious of time, I'll happily circulate around the definition for. I mean, it is in. I think I've sent the link around before in the FAQs to members, but I'll resend around to the committee after this. And I mean, I can read it out for here, but I'll send it around afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, it's kind of around the same subject. I think there is a bit of mixed messaging out there because somebody asked on social media, can we continue to put food waste in the green bin? And apparently we can. But obviously that's not what the purpose of the exercise is. It's to do separate recycling of food waste specifically to generate energy. Not generate, I know you can't generate. to give you renewable energy source. So, you know, this mixed messaging is not good if we can still continue to put food waste into the green bins.
So I think that I'd rather send out the message that's set out, but certainly with the food caddies as well, there's a leaflet within there that makes it clear. So I think there's an initial letter that went out to say your food caddy is coming, and we touched upon it a little bit, but the clarity is within that leaflet that goes out with each food caddy, and it actually sets out in fairly pictorial style as to what can and can't go in the bin. I think what we were alluding to is that there's always going to be a period, I think we accept, where residents may be adjusting to that. So ideally, I think the green bin should be garden waste only. That's the easiest way to go forward. But we'll take a view on that, certainly for those few initial weeks, that there may be a bedding in period where people will carry on putting food in. We'll be fairly, we'll take a pragmatic view on enforcing that in the first couple of weeks, perhaps just a gentle tag, please do not do this again in the future, but we won't be able to collect, but we'll collect this time kind of approach. I think that's it's trying to, I think it's that settling in period you have to judge, but so far it's been received reasonably well, I mean, you know, given it's a change to service.
Councillor Efty, does your question relate to the report?
It sort of does, the caddies. So, it is, but doesn't really. So I can leave it off if you don't mind. I don't mind.
Okay, members, that report is for noting. Is it noted? Noted. Thank you. Item 7 is the Q1 performance, and the report begins on page 23. Informs members of the performance of the council at the end of Q1 25 to 26 in relation to places and spaces theme of the council's corporate plan. Do we have any questions, members? Councillor Cross.
I think this is the right section. Okay, while we're taking several measures to reduce our carbon footprint, we're only going to achieve net zero if we take the net part of it literally. So we need to be putting a positive contribution towards it in the form of trees, basically, and green vegetation that takes in carbon dioxide and actually gives out oxygen. So that's how we achieve the net zero. Otherwise, we'd never get down to zero. So what I can't see in these figures is a definitive figure for CO2 production reduction by the number of trees that we've got. I know we've got a program of planting trees wherever possible, but it doesn't seem to be measured in any way what that would give in terms of a credit towards the net zero figure.
I think it's if committee members are minded to want that information, it's something we can provide. I mean, it's always an estimate, really, in terms of, you know, it's a formula added to an average tree for an average age. So it's something we can certainly work on. Whether you want that quarterly, it's not going to change a great deal quarterly, but I think as an annual figure, we could certainly provide that in terms of the number of trees we've planted and what that actually equates to in terms of carbon sequestering. So if that's of interest, we can have that circulated.
Yes, thank you, Marcus. I think it would be of interest, but I appreciate if you're going to be planting whips, you know, that it's going to be beyond 2030 before they produce any meaningful, you know, oxygen. But you can't sort of bring in mature trees into the region, I guess, to give you instant benefit in that sense. So, but yeah, it would be nice to see some figures in there if possible. Thank you, Chairman.
Councillor Stanley.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, just getting on that very point about planting trees, and getting back to our zero effort that we're trying to get to. Would it not be better to put in 2 or 3 year old trees in future rather than the whips that we put in, because they'll take 10 years before they even get to maturity to do exactly what we want them to do. And I'm just thinking that if we take out any trees, the point I'm trying to make is that if we take out any trees, can we put back trees of an age rather than small trees of a year old? That's what I'm trying to get to.
The short answer is no. You're actually better off planting whips. So in terms of they have a more chance of establishing themselves and growing quicker. So what you'll find, I mean, you'd almost ideally be better off letting things set seed. So if it grows from an acorn, if you like, it will grow better than if you've planted a whip. And if you plant a mature tree, so what happens is you'll find that the younger the tree, the more chance it has to establish its roots correctly in the soil, and will overtake those trees that have been planted that are more mature quite quickly. So you're actually better off planting very young trees and letting those take over. And in terms of carbon, it tends to use almost the same amount of carbon as a large mature tree. So it grows in increments, so it's building up as it goes. So you don't get that really in quite the same way. But I understand the logic. I think there are benefits to planting mature trees for instant impact, particularly for amenity value in urban areas. But I think quite often where you can, you're almost better off letting things self-seed, ideally. Adam might want to switch straight to that.
Now, Councillor Gooding.
So we're going to always be in a catch-up situation, especially where we're having quite a few developments coming forward, and along with those developments, there's quite often the outside edges of any development are trees and shrubberies that are being removed to help the new developments come forward. Yeah, but they'll replace with not like for like.
So I'll touch on it, but it's probably almost a question for planning policy as well. Regulations now state there's got to be a biodiversity net gain on these new developments. So they would take a view. I think the baseline date might be 2020, but I'm slightly hazy on this, so I stand corrected on that. But they take a baseline view of what ecological habitat was available at that time. So even if a developer clears it today in advance of putting in an application, they'll take a view that they've got to at least better what was already there in terms of their offering going forward.
And how would that be achieved?
It's quite deep. I'm pretty happy to have that discussion with you, with the place director as well, offline, but it's probably not for this committee.
I hadn't quite finished my questions, not only on that, but on Appendix A, we have got Rectory Road Play Space, and I don't know of anywhere, I have lived in Rectory Road for 47 years, I don't know of anywhere called Rectory Road Play Space, so we do really need to ensure that
It's your back garden.
It's on Appendix A and it's obviously in Rectory Road. We need to correct that.
So is that referring to the report? Which report? Is that the bylaws report? That's the future reports. I think we're still discussing the agenda item for that. Thank you.
Councillor Cross, can you? I'm not trying to hurry you up, but we've got 11 items to get through. So,
Sorry. Just again on this report, I can't see the number of trees that are felled because they're diseased or whatever. I'm sure we do keep account of what we're losing mature tree-wise, but do they count negatively towards our net zero target? Because they should.
We can provide that data for future reports. That's something that you'd like to see.
Okay, thank you, members. That report is for noting. Is it noted? Thank you. Item 8, the report begins on page 39, and it's a progress report against the Council's sustainability strategy and sets out the next steps in the Council's response to climate emergency. Is this Henry's bit? Do you want to delay this bit? Or do you want to carry on?
Well, I think if we delay that to the end, and I think Henry's been delayed. He's on his way on the train, so he obviously only travels with public transport. So he's been delayed on the train. But if the committee doesn't mind, we could put that.
Is everyone happy to delay that report till Henry turns up? Thank you. If not, we'll come back to it. Item 9 is Open Spaces Pleasure Grounds bylaws, and the report begins on page 59. Report seeks approval to update the existing bylaws with modern regulations, and I invite questions from committee members. Councillor Cross.
Don't raise your eyebrows. It's a reasonable question. On page 84, there's a bit about right-of-way of cycles. Now, I'm one of the Rayleigh MTB group who occasionally ride through Hockley Woods late at night, and we go off-road, off-piste a little bit at times. But the question is, it says that cycling, there's a right-of-way for cycles and or designated routes, but I just wondered how they're going to be signposted and how the bylaws are going to apply for groups like Rayleigh MTB group who literally go off the paths and through, they kind of make their own paths through the woods. So it's, yeah. Just how are they going to be signposted, the actual legal routes for bicycles?
Thank you, Councillor. Good question. So we are, should this be approved tonight and the bylaws are accepted, the team are working on new signage for all of the parks and open spaces, including the way markers. I'm sure you're referring to Hockley Woods as well as one of the main sites. So we're doing a project on that at the moment. The new signage will contain not the bylaws themselves, but a link to where to view the bylaws, so they'll be viewable to everybody.
Councillor Gooding.
So now we're on bylaws. I would like to know if there's going to be any signage put up for the gate times of opening and closing, because obviously there's been some confusion during the summer with people being thrown out of the Clements Hall open space, and we do need to have signage so that they can be guided by that, not guided by a local neighbour telling them when they should and shouldn't be there.
Thank you, Councillor. So the actual gate opening and closing times are not part of the bylaws, but I take your point that we do need to review some of our processes with gate locking and have decent signage. As I mentioned in the previous question, we're working on new signage for across all of our parks, so we'll certainly take that into consideration.
Councillor Williams.
Thank you, Chairman. Just wondering really how these would be enforced, these bylaws.
I think that's always going to be a point of debate. But if you don't have them at all, then they can't be there to enforce. I mean, but certainly an example of where, and perhaps you'll recollect, Councillor Williams, in your time of a portfolio holder, that we had that issues around fishing on the Cherry Orchard lake. We personally couldn't enforce, but what we were looking to do, of course, was use a water bailiff at the time who would not entertain doing any enforcement or patrols of that lake without the bylaws in place, because without that in place, he's really has no rights to exercise. So I think it is if you haven't got the tools at all, we certainly can't do anything. So it's the first step, and then if we choose to enforce more actively, at least we can. Without the bylaws there, then I'd have to be coming back at some point and say, can I have the bylaws, please? We want to actively enforce. So it's there at least for us then to exercise if we wish to do so.
Councillor Stanley.
Thank you, Chair. On page 83, if the vehicle or the cycle is going more than 15 miles per hour, and we know that it's a lot faster than that when they're travelling through the fields or through the parks. Will we have some sort of, if you like, sleeping policeman across the pathway to slow them down, or is it going to be just straight through flat ground that they can use? I do think that needs to be addressed in some shape or form to reduce their speed. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. So just to clarify, so that part on page 83, with the 15.5 miles an hour, that is the definition of a motorcycle within the legislation. That's not part of the bylaws that we're looking to enact. But I take your point, and I'm happy to review some of the sites and some safety measures that we can put in place going forwards.
I was just thinking about the motorised cycles that can go on there, and we do know that they do more than 30 miles an hour, even at 45 miles an hour, some of them do. So I just wondered if we need to do some restriction, as we haven't got a warden that will actually test the vehicle or test the cycle or whatever it is, that we need to put some sort of barriers in the way of, in the ground, that will reduce their speed. Not necessarily to their demise, but just to put some sort of ramps in to stop them going too fast. I think that would be a practical thing to do.
Councillor Squires-Coleman.
Thank you, Chair. Just for clarity for myself, actually, I've taken note of, on page 65, part 6, regarding the concern of drones. Just for my information, on page 88, section 6, is this how we, as a council, are covering that eventuality? So on page 65, it's part 6, it says that several residents have been mentioning drones, and we as an authority can't stop them flying over, but we can use bylaws to stop them taking off and landing. And I'm just checking that if part 6 on page 88 is that what that section is for? Does that cover drones?
Yes, thank you, Councillor. Sorry, thank you for clarifying. Yes, it does cover drones. What it doesn't cover is that the bylaws can only enforce against drones taking off and landing. They can't enforce against drones passing over our land in the air.
So this section covers them actually taking off and landing?
Yes.
Yeah, lovely. Thank you for that clarification.
Okay, members. R1 is that the committee note the comments made under the public consultation as set out in Appendix D. Is that noted? Oh, sorry. Can you use your...
I was trying to raise earlier, which is Rectory Road Play Space on Appendix A.
Thank you, Councillor. Yep, noted. That is Magnolia. I understand that it's not commonly known as that, but these names refer to the original bylaws, what they defined as in the original bylaws 1975. That will be updated with the new bylaws, yes.
Apologies, Council Goodin. So, R1, the committee notes the comments made under the public consultation as set out in Appendix D. Is that noted? Noted. R2, that the committee approves the revised bylaws as set out in Appendix C. I will be moving that one. Do I have a seconder? Councillor FD. Can I have a show of hands for? Against? Abstain. That motion has been approved. Thank you. Right. Yeah. Thank you, members. We go back to item 8, the Sustainability Strategy and the Climate Emergency Progress Report, 24 to 25, and that report begins on page 39. Do we have any questions from committee members?
Could you tell us how far our solar has gone and how much of where we are with our carbon neutral progress, please?
Clements Hall, we're talking about, for the solar. So that's been installed, and the pool covers are being installed as well. So we should be generating lots of free power from the sun. In terms of our progress to net zero, if it's not in the report, there should be. It's in the. Could you just pass me that, please, Vicky, 1 second? Underneath the graph, there's our projection to 2030. It's 3.12, page 43. So it maps out the measures that we need to install to reach the target. And the most significant one is the plant-based fuel for the waste fleet, because that's a good chunk of the carbon footprint for the council. I understand we're bringing that back to the next committee.
Can you tell me how much is being generated at Clements Hall and how much will be generated at Mill, because that's only just been put in, hasn't it? So, because we've not got batteries, so obviously there is going to be which I don't see in here, how much is being taken from the grid at times of an evening because we haven't got batteries and the sun goes down at 7 o'clock. So from 7 till 10 or whatever it is we close, how much of power are we taking from the grid? I don't see a graph of that.
So the savings from the mill should be about £100,000 a year. Half of that is from the pool covers and half from the solar installation. We didn't put batteries in for storage because it massively increases the cost. So the payback normally for solar is 6 years. You put batteries in, it's 18 years. So to get your most carbon savings and electricity, we've sized it to the peak demand of the centre. I think it's 175 kilowatts, I'd have to check. So there's significant financial savings and significant carbon savings, but we haven't put batteries in.
I'm not saying there isn't any savings. I'm sure there is savings during the day, but it's of an evening time when the sun goes down and the solar isn't being used. So therefore we are using power from the grid. Just
right.
how much? Just
So-
how much are we being used? Sorry.
So obviously at night time, there's no solar. We're on a green tariff now for the leisure centres.
We are on a green tariff.
We're on a green tariff for non-fossil fuel sources. So in normal time, we're doing green tariff. Electricity is green, and then when we're benefiting from the sunshine, obviously March,
Yeah,
October is the main time when we're benefiting.
We're obviously putting money into the grid.
Councillor Stanley, can you allow the officer to
Sorry.
speak, and you've still got your mic on the whole time?
Sorry.
Thank you.
So clearly, we're not going to be generating electricity from sunshine when it's dark. We haven't got storage. We've sized it to try and match peak demand, and we're also taking electricity from the grid is on a green tariff. So our whole strategy to get to net zero is we need to get rid of gas, because you can't replace gas with green gas. Yeah, it's the ultimate fossil fuel, isn't it? So the idea is we move off gas for our heating systems. We move to electric, which would be air source heat pumps. That would be the significant investment that we need at the end of this decade, either through grant or whatever happens with restructuring. So yeah, we're doing the best we can. We've sized the installation to match demand.
Councillor FD.
Just a quick question.
Sure.
Sorry. When we're generating electricity, you said you sized it to do peak. When we're not doing peak, are we selling what we're producing back to the grid to offset, or we're not doing that yet?
I would have to come back to you on that, but leisure centres are pretty hungry animals.
Not much anyway.
I doubt we'll be exporting much back to the grid.
Okay, fair enough.
Councillor Cross.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Apologies to members. It's a question that I asked earlier to Marcus, and it was the wrong item. But I'd like to ask Henry, actually. Obviously, it's impossible to get to net zero without putting something into the equation. We can only reduce our emissions, but we'll never get to zero unless we contribute positively to the renewable system, and planting of trees is crucial to that. And I asked a question of Marcus, how many mature trees were actually cutting down through disease or wind damage, and whether that is being equated into the figures against our overall net reduction, because that is a negative. If we plant mature trees, obviously that's a positive gain, but it seems that those figures aren't being taken into account anywhere.
At the moment, I don't think we've discussed what our offset strategy is. So as a council, our main objective is to remove gas from all our buildings. We're on a green tariff, and that's on net zero. Yeah. So if we still have any buildings with gas in, then we're going to need to offset the emissions if we need to align with that target for the council. You can plant a tree, but one tree takes 20 years to save 1 tonne of CO2. You plant 10, a third might die if there's not a maintenance contract to look after it from disease, damage, storms. And it's, bearing in mind, our carbon footprint at the moment is 975 tonnes of CO2, and it's 1 tonne in 20 years. The tree offset is nature's way of sucking CO2 out of the atmosphere, but essentially it's better if we try and just get gas out of our buildings, because that's more sort of realistic. But whether we can do it in time and this budget is another matter. But we're on track, and there's funding sources at the end of the year through Salix, and then the boilers will be the right age, and we should be up for funding for that.
Members, that item is for noting. Has that been noted? Thank you. Back to 9:10. Members, we're on item 10, the bin infrastructure action plan update. It's a lovely word, isn't it? The report begins on page 181, and the report updates members on the progress that has been made against the items identified in the action plan. Do I have any questions from members? No. I'll wait here for 5 minutes. I'm still on. No questions? Nope. Right, that item is for noting members. Has that noted?
No.
Thank you. We move on to item 11, the fly tipping action plan update, and the report begins on page 187. The report updates members on the progress that has been made against the items identified in the action plan and the performance measures set out therein. And I therefore invite questions from members. Councillor FD.
Thank you, Chairman. With the fly tipping, I'm just trying to find, scrolling up and down is quite difficult to find where you've made your notes. With the, let me find it. I thought I saw it then. No, okay, I have to go from memory. Some fly tipping is done by some residents in our district, and I know there's one that's quite perpetual. He clears places out and just dumps it everywhere. Do we go down the route of if they're in some of our houses, which they've got a morality clause in about breaking the law? Do we take them up on that at all? I know it's quite a drastic thing to do, but some of these people fly tip a lot and cost the council a lot of money.
So I think it touches upon, if you look at the progress made within the action plan, an area that we've really not progressed as far as we should have done. I think we wanted that transparency is around enforcement. Technically, yes, you can do so. You need the detail of the case to really be able to comment fully. But I think, in all honesty, I've not progressed this as much as I'd like to have done in terms of an action plan. But it's here for you to see that. We are reviewing some of the resource that we have, so there's an opportunity to a post that's come vacant, which I want to emphasise on the enforcement side again, and I also have an additional resource coming in to help assist put together an environmental enforcement sort of contract where we can actually get some outsource sort of private contractors in to help assist with the serving of FPNs and that sort of thing. I think that's the part that's probably missing at the moment. I think the rest of it, in terms of response times and in terms of actually tracking what's out there, we're doing okay. But I think what we're missing is that enforcement aspect. But that's something I hope to, by the next time this comes back in 6 months' time, to start saying we're actually progressing with some pace.
Can I come back quickly there? Without the enforcement part of this, we're always going to be playing catch up. We need some sort of deterrent. So that's just my view on that. Thank you.
Councillor Squires-Coleman.
Thank you, Chair. Maybe I've missed something, but I'm wondering why there's been no progress on some of the items regarding enforcement. No progress on the status and the targets.
No, so just as I was explaining then, really, it's my fault basically. I require resource to do that, and we haven't had the resource within the service, and it's something I've now got round to flagging up. It takes a bit of time to, you almost need to demonstrate that you're not delivering something, which is how it's set out within this table, to make it quite clear that if you want it delivered, then we need the resource, and that conversation has been had. with others as well. And so I am being able to bring that resource forward. So what I'm hoping is we actually get staff that can start doing that sort of investigative work again. It's quite time consuming. I think that's the one thing that's deceptive at times. Everyone asks cameras, wildlife cameras up at their hotspot, and to go through the footage to actually look for good quality results can be quite it's quite time consuming. So you do need a dedicated resource on that, and that's what we're hoping to be bring back in the next couple of months. So when I report back in next 6 months' time, I think a lot of those that are amber and red you should start seeing to be green.
I will add on that we have put cameras up, or the council put cameras up in the past, and they stole them. So it's very difficult to have enforcement if you've got no proof. So, Councillor Wilson.
Thanks, Chairman. It's a general question, really. Have we benchmarked against how we perform against sort of other similar councils to us? Are we better or worse? Do we have more or less of a problem than others?
Yes, I mean, I've actually produced that graph previously for Brentwood, which is so if we compare with, Brentwood, we really do not have much of a problem. So you'll see that the graph is around fairly stable. So we have every district and borough has a fly tipping problem, but the extent really is fairly low. In Rochford. Doesn't mean it's acceptable. I wouldn't say I'd like to see a 0. I mean, it's never pleasant to drive past a lay-by full of flies, and I think the ones that are really concerning are those that are dumped in the middle of the road. So it's the sort of the Watertree Lane fly tips have been of particular concern, and that's something we'd like to really sort of focus down on. Working with our sort of Director of Communities, we're getting better links with the police again now, so we hope that, because some of this it is criminal activity as well. But I think we just need that a bit more on the enforcement side of things. But realistically, I think that's more of a moral reason. I think we ought to be seen to be enforcing. However, that reduce your fly tips significantly, I think, is probably not a realistic expectation. But I think it's important to, meet the public's expectations that when they find evidence that we do something with that. I think that's the part we want to ensure that we're following through. When people say, I've got a number plate for you, I've found this address in this fly tip, that we can follow that all the way through.
Councillor Stanley.
Thank you, Chair. Some time ago, I do believe that there was a skip at Wakering, which we wasn't aware. Well, we was aware of it, although I don't think we actually paid for it. But the question is, do we need to put some skips? We did have one in Swain Park, not more than about a month ago. I don't know if that was one of the council skip for waste. It maybe wasn't, but it did have waste in there, which was a shower tray and other items like that. I just wondered if that's something we should look into, is having a skip for the day in our park or whatever to try and help with this dumping of rubbish. I just that's a question. That's rather than anything else. Thank you.
So the action plan sets out trialling, and so we already have our, so you call it a mobile crunch, is what people often know them as. So the mobile crunch in Wakering, so I looked at Wakering, which is one Saturday every month, which is reasonably successful, I think it's fair to say.
This Saturday coming up is very successful.
There you go. So they were going to be trialling it, and we trialled it previously at Rochford, and it didn't pick up very well, but I think we're going to trial it again at Rochford, so I think we're going to then bring that back to the committee as well, so we're going to see what kind of tonnages we collect. But yes, it's something that can be considered. It comes at a cost to the council to do this, because it's a weekend sort of service usually. But yes, certainly we can begin to look at offering that sort of mobile crunch service, almost like an amnesty. Bring out your rubbish once a month, and it does certainly work. I think it has had a positive impact in the Wakering area.
Thank you, members. I will move the recommendation set out on page 187 of the report. One, that the committee notes the progress which has been made against the action plan and agrees to receive a further update report in approximately 6 months' time. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Wilson. Show of hands, please. Thank you. That motion has been carried. Item 12 is the Rochford Play Strategy. The report begins on page 203. This report provides an update on the development and implementation of the Rochford Play Space Strategy. Do I have questions from committee members?
Thank you, Chair. As I've already mentioned to Mr. Houghton and Mr. Aldridge, sorry, Adam, sorry. He's just blank there. The play space at Swain Park does need some sort of attention, as well as other play spaces. And I hear that we have sent out, at the moment, looking for quotes on work that needs to be done there. So I'm pleased that I've heard this from the officers, and hopefully that will be sorted out as quickly as possible. On that alone, just how long will it take that we can get these play spaces sorted? Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor. Sorry, Chair. Thanks, Councillor. Tender was published today, so I hope if all goes to plan, probably after 4 weeks we can start placing orders, and then it will be as quick as they can go in. Basically, all the plans are drawn up. We'll speak with ward members on those plans once they've been accepted through the official tender. But I'm hoping, weather permitting, they will be installed this financial year. Yes, sorry. Weather permitting, I hope they'll be installed this financial year.
Councillor Goodin.
Do we have a list of those that we are expecting to replace, please?
Thank you, Councillor. Yes, so that list was part of the play replacement programme approved at this committee, and I'm happy to circulate that background to members.
Councillor FD.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Looking at all these things we want to do, it looks really brilliant. I'm not going across different committee here. With our leisure contracts, they have made a commitment to do outreach to places that are not Clements Hall and not Rayleigh Leisure Centre, so places that are a bit further afield. Are we talking with our new leisure provider to where we're putting all this stuff in, so instead of doing the job twice?
We will be, yes. I mean, it's early stages. We're pulling the information together, but you're absolutely right. A play strategy isn't just about the physical play; it's about the provision of activities as well. So I think it's widest remit. You'd consider that. So certainly, we'll be talking to our sort of colleagues in the communities, and they'll be speaking to the leisure provider.
Thank you, members. The committee notes the contents of this report. Is the report noted, members? Noted. Thank you. Item 13 is the committee work programme, and the report begins on page 239. The report sets out the work programme for the committee for 25-26 municipal year. Do I have any questions from committee members on the work plan? Councillor FD.
Okay, just give me a second. I'm just checking because something came up in the light tipping strategy where Marcus Officer Hutton said we're lacking in resources for our what's it called? Where we go and check stuff, where we go and enforcement. So would we be looking at you coming back to us with a recommendation of an enforcement officer. Looking at fly tipping in a later. I'm just double checking. I wasn't sure.
I think you'll find that is fly tipping action plan update is coming back.
Yeah, I
on
know the update
19th
was,
of
which was what we had earlier. But are we actually going to bring something back to actually maybe get another enforcement officer?
I mean, no, I mean, it's within existing budgets and it's just an operational decision. So it's moving forward as we speak. So
I wasn't sure that you had the resources to get someone, which was what you said before, so I didn't know if you wanted more resources.
No, I mean, I've managed to secure the resources. So as I said, it's my fault, basically. I probably should have tried harder to secure the resources, but I'm being brutally honest about it. But it doesn't need a decision here, but it's something that's internally had to be sort of discussed with the sort of finance.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you, members. That report is for noting. Has that been noted? No. Thank you, members. That concludes our business for the evening. I think we got through it reasonably well, considering there was over 11 items on the agenda, and it was rather a heavy agenda. So thank you all for your attendance and your participation. I now close the meeting at 8:36. Thank you.